Is a patriot.
I mean it. The fuck you think I'm hiding or something? I done said this shit a million times.
What makes him a patriot?
Because he got rid of a piece of shit.
Okay. And you think that's a good thing to kill people who disagree with you?
I think it's a good thing to take a racist out.
Okay. How do you know he was racist?
Because he a piece of shit. Look at what he said. So if you see a black pilot, then you got to wonder, is he qualified? You a piece of shit, gang?
He just doesn't like
His
DEI.
wife's still out here racist. He don't like what?
What has his wife done that's
He don't like
racist?
what? That weak-ass Super Bowl show because Bad Bunny Puerto Rican. That's some racist shit. Robinson, that's what I said. I said, fuck Charlie Kirk.
Why free Tyler Robinson?
Because he a patriot.
Good morning. It's a beautiful mama. You hush. How are you guys doing this morning? We're gonna get started right away. I know. What do you guys think of the starting screen? I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different.
It's so pretty.
I do like that one. Hey, peanut gallery. You found it.
I remember the one time you said that and I thought you said another word.
You zip your lip. We're not going there. Anyway, we're going to start with our Ryze mushroom coffee. I already did the water ahead of time, so that is actually ready for drink.
Oh, I thought you were grabbing like a squirt bottle.
You got a puddle here. Ryze added. ASMR. Fan.
No, it's not.
Good morning, Josh. And mix it up. This morning we are talking about a controversial topic. And I honestly literally just had my eyes opened up and was like, whoa, wait a second here.
Look at how wavy my hands.
Won't go? Get your imaginary duct tape.
I ran out.
Here's a roll. Don't you dare bite me. Homemade creamer, pumpkin spice. Make a right way. And open please if you can. Because you can set it on the floor to get better grip. Go grab. Yeah, it was too hot when your sister put it in there, so it's sealed. Give it here.
Hang on.
You're not gonna do it that way.
Wait, Lefty Loosey Righty Tighty, correct? My hair gives me better grip. My hands are sweaty.
Come on. Okay, hand it up. Ow.
I'm just getting ready to use that line in about 11 days.
Not that I need grip. Well, yeah, I do need
My
grip.
feet could even open that better.
Okay. Go grab the can opener thing.
We don't have that no more. It's in storage.
Okay, go grab me a butter knife.
Just go cha.
Butter knife. Please and thank you.
No, use that.
I need a butter knife.
That was working good.
It would not work for what I need to do.
That tank.
No.
Oh,
This morning, our conversation is going to be a little comfortable. Fair warning, heads up. Sorry, not sorry. And I couldn't put it in the description because, well, it's talking about murder, execution, and the difference between the two.
Mama. Gizmo ate his banana.
Of course he did. Shink it.
I need to brush back. No. Not you.
What are you telling no to? Who? Excuse me.
Bless you.
So, there's a little trick. If it's sealed, you just take your butter knife, put it up underneath, and just barely twist a little bit. You'll hear the psst as it lets go.
May I get the brush back?
I need paper towel.
We ain't got none down here.
Smell your berry. Come here. Smell it. I know, right? So, I know they have. Oh, it's strong. I know they have a pumpkin spice for Ryze now. But
What?
Because it's the season. Nope.
What up?
Monkey, sit down. Smack a monkey. We got hot cocoa! You, young lady.
I get so
Don't make me have to kick you out because I don't want to. So, let's get started. Good morning. How are you doing today? Type it in the comments below. This morning we are talking about the death penalty and murder. Because there's a lot of controversy about if Tyler Robinson should be put to the death penalty, or be put to death. And we're going to watch two different videos. So, here is to God and His amazing work that He does. Here's to each and every one of you followers and subscribers. Thank you.
And all subscribers.
Hence followers. And most important. Here's to the love that God gives us, each and every one of us in our hearts. Cheers. Well, I grew up believing that the death penalty was bad, and did not look at it as the way God said. Because one verse that comes to mind, or one story in the Bible that comes to mind, is when the Pharaohs bring Jesus, the prostitute. I've talked about it before. And Jesus said, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." Well, I thought about that with execution. Who is without sin that could cast the first stone for an execution? But it does say, "Good morning, Sabnampo Nation." It does say in the Bible that if a man murders someone, they forfeit their own life. Now, killing in self-defense is different than murdering. That is killing. So, let's go to the two videos that I've seen and how completely different both of them are. We're going to start with the one on X first.
And that's what I said. I said, fuck Charlie Kirk.
Why free Tyler Robinson?
Is he a patriot?
Tyler Robinson is a patriot.
I mean, the fuck you think I'm hiding the song? I've just said this shit a million times.
What makes him a patriot?
Because he got rid of a piece of shit.
Okay. And you think that's a good thing to kill people who disagree with you?
I think it's a good thing to take a racist out.
Okay. How do you know he was racist?
Because he a piece of shit. Look at what he said. So if you see a black pilot, then you got to wonder, is he qualified? You a piece of shit, gang?
He just doesn't like
His
DEI.
wife's still out here racist. He don't like what?
What has his wife done that's
He don't
racist?
like what? That weak-ass Super Bowl show because Bad Bunny Puerto Rican. That's some racist shit. And that's what I said. I said, fuck Charlie Kirk.
Why free Tyler Robinson?
Is he a patriot?
Tyler Robinson is a patriot.
I mean, the fuck you think I'm hiding the song? I've just said this shit a million times.
What makes him a patriot?
Because he got rid of a piece of shit.
Okay. And you think that's a good thing to kill people who disagree with you?
I think it's a good thing to take a racist out.
Okay. How do you know he was racist?
Because he a piece of shit. Look at what he said. So if you see a black pilot, then you got to wonder, is he qualified? You a piece of shit, gang?
He just doesn't like
His
DEI.
wife's still out here racist. He don't like what?
What has his wife done that's
He don't
racist?
like what? That weak-ass Super Bowl show because Bad Bunny Puerto Rican. That's some racist shit. And that's what I said. I said, fuck Charlie Kirk.
Okay. So it's not because he's Puerto Rican. You really need to learn the facts before you spew bullcrap that you don't know. It's because he's a trans going after kids. Let me say that louder for the ones in the back. He's a trans going after kids. That Bad Bunny person, and yes, don't go there. Anyway, okay, so the other video is on YouTube. Let me make sure that this one over properly. Okay, cool. Yes, it's working nice today. How awesome sauce. Alrighty. Now, this is what Charlie Kirk says on the death penalty.
Just a sec. I'll be right back. So, first of all, I won't be in here while you're live. So, I will be right back.
Enjoy your shower.
I'm not taking a shower.
Okay, enjoy your hair washing. And you might want to thank Gizmo because he gave you a little fertilizer for your hair.
That does not help. I'm taking my anti-merch juice with me.
Hey,
Oh,
fix this and make a pot. Please.
I'm waking up yonder because if she wants the rest of this coffee, she needs to make a pot.
Okay, here's what Charlie Cook said about it.
When this woman questioned Charlie Kirk about the penalty, his biblical answer shocked the whole crowd.
I have concerns over things like penalty. It's one of the 10 Commandments. You should not. So is it somehow justified because they're such a horrible criminal, or are they eliminating or changing the trajectory of God's plan for what it was supposed to be because somebody, and they didn't go when God was ready for them?
Great question. So I get this question a lot. So it does not say do not kill. So those are two different Hebrew words, right? So to is a completely different thing than to kill. For example, you're allowed to kill in self-defense. Somebody comes into your house, you are allowed to take that life if your life is being put into jeopardy. So this idea of taking a life if you take a life, what is it rooted in? Why does it matter? Well, first of all, God is communicating to us the first thing. Taking human life is a major deal. So if you take another image bearer's life, what could possibly be a just punishment for that? Well, according to the economy of God, it's that your life must also be taken. When you take another person's life, you already took your own life. I want you to think about it. If someone were to Alex or me, they already themselves in that action. They already bestowed the punishment upon themselves. We are simply completing the task. And think about it. Some people will say, but Charlie, it's not fair because of whatever sob story liberal reason. But you know who it's not fair to? It's not fair to the victims. You are cheapening the lives of the victim. You are basically saying the victims die and you get to live. So you get to continue to live even though you took the lives of others. The only just thing that we can reason ourselves to is to take that person's life. And that is killing, and it's societal self-defense.
When this woman questioned Charlie Kirk about the...
Okay, so let's talk about it. Yeah, sorry, I don't have someone else to do that for me. I have to do this. That's okay. Anyway, so let's talk about that. The difference between killing and murder. Like I said, reading the Bible, I was going off of the scripture where Jesus said, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." So how was that play out then? Because to unalive someone means that you either have to electrocute them, shoot them, well, for the death penalty, sorry. You have to electrocute them, inject them with drugs, there's hanging, there's firing squad, there's stoning someone to death. there's multiple different ways that they did it for execution throughout the centuries. But why? Why, if God is saying, he who is without sin cast the first stone? Or if Jesus is, sorry. Then why would it be okay, you know, in a non-self-defense way? What do you think? I would like to know. Josh, you said that they have death penalty in Texas. I do remember throughout the years, and I do believe it's still the same, if you were to steal someone's horse, you could string them up for theft. But that wouldn't be, that'd be murder. That wouldn't be killing. It would be different. Because they didn't take a life, technically. What is something that you think, on biblical terms, would be justifiable? As Charlie Kirk said, you know, if someone were to unalive him, and then his killer, or the murderer, was put to death, that'd be just finishing God's cycle. That has me at a little bit of a crossroads, because those of you that follow me know that I absolutely love God, and I fear God in everything. But unless it is detrimental, I do not believe in taking a life. I mean, that would be a good discussion to have been able to have with him fully. I don't see how doing another evil to fulfill the cycle of the first evil is going to help the world. And not only that, there's way too much evidence that is showing that Tyler did not kill him. So I'd rather, I know this sounds completely absurd, I'd rather the guilty go free than one innocent person be put to death because of something he did not do, or they did not do. I know it sounds asinine, but as more information is being leaked out that's not supposed to be, it shows me more and more exactly the information that we need to know. Let me see if I can pull it up quick. This video is 27 minutes long, and it's by
Finally,
Tiger
there's
Smart.
Mr. Goodman.
I'm gonna watch it together. And Tiger, if this is not allowed, or Trigger, sorry, Trigger Smart. Wow. If this is not allowed, please let me know, because I do believe in giving the facts as well as having permission to do so, but I have no way to get hold of you. So if you see this, welcome in. Okay. There you go. Fair warning, there is graphic detail. I will give that warning. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to throw a layer or a source up this way. Yeah. I need text. Okay. Next source. I'm going to throw this up real quick so that way let's see. Alright. Alright, let's get it.
Hello and welcome back to Trigger Smart. I'm here today to do a Charlie Kirk analysis. This time it is not my analysis. Someone contacted me, a subscriber, and gave me a very extremely detailed breakdown of their interpretation of what happened. And to date, I have not heard anyone else with this particular story. There's a pretty good chance that no one else has approached it from this angle before, so make sure you stay tuned. Now I'm going to pull this up directly from their email. Ultimate explanation of Charlie's shot case. Works with autopsy, explains the front wound, pinpoints the shooter, new images, all resources in one email. This is from Kalakukul at proton.me. This is a final explanation of the backshot case. It explains the stuck bullet as per the autopsy, as well as a front wound, pinpoints the probable shooter, and is better structured and contains more detailed images, notes, and resources in a single email. So here's the events, according to him or her. A dark car in the tunnel behind Charlie. Little to the observer's left opens a trunk, seconds before the shot. Bullet comes from the back to his head, mostly horizontal. Little from observer's left. The bullet hits the occipital bone, which is dense and inclined 45 degrees to the horizontal direction at that spot. It ricochets down and travels between the scalp and the skull at around 80-degree angle. And yes, we are going to look at visuals. At that time of the impact, there was a puff of air, as shown by video, more below, lifting the back collar and blowing the back of the shirt, which occurs before any neck cavitation. So he's talking about when the shirt in the front goes up, And then also, it looks like a big puff of air, or maybe if the bullet actually went through and hit in the back, and that bulges out as well. The air gets trapped under the shirt and spreads. It travels downwards in the back, also over the shoulders and to the front. Now, previously people said this was from an explosion from his mic, and I think that's kind of been debunked, mostly because when you see the supposed explosion, you do see what looks like maybe some smoke or something else. But the problem is, if there was an explosion, it would go out or it would go away, right? Assuming that that actually shot something or did something to his neck. So that's kind of been debunked just from that point of view. Number 6, the bullet starts damaging vertebrae processes at C2, bounces off a vertebrae around C5, damages the rest of the cervical vertebrae through C7, and stops between T1 and the skin, which is in line with the leaked autopsy. The bullet traveling down the neck is causing cavitation and rapid neck swelling, which we did see. So in a lot of the shots, you see that the neck and the head actually both seem to swell pretty significantly, which lengthens the necklace, yanking its front upwards. That whips the cross pendant violently towards Charlie's front side of his neck, apparent by the momentary spike on the shirt on many videos, and we'll see that here in a minute. The cross pendant causes the widely observed front wound, which is much larger than an entry from a clean bullet. So a lot of people said this looks like a typical exit wound. Many thought it was an entrance wound. This person is saying that the pendant, which will, again, we'll get to this, the pendant, when the shirt goes up, it's the pendant that goes into his neck and then possibly even comes back out. Can we see this in slow motion? I don't know. I haven't looked through all the videos yet, so let's do this together. The chain breaks in the front, and therefore it flies to the side and backwards, probably yanked the pendant out of the wound again, further enlarging the wound, turning it into both an entry and exit wound, which might explain the way that it looks. It doesn't look like a typical gunshot exit wound. Typically it'd be much bigger, a lot more damage. The vein trunk is closed again right after the shot. All right, so now according to this person, basically what's happening is there's someone behind Charlie, behind the stage, at a certain angle, which we'll see in these images coming up. And they took a shot and hit him from behind, and then it bounced around in those vertebrae, and the impact and the way it hit in the cavitation of his neck from the bullet going down, that bulged everything. And then part of that also was making his shirt come up, and then it whipped his pendant into his neck. Now, does it seem a little far-fetched? I don't know. When we start looking at these images, I think it'll make a lot more sense than some of the other stuff that we've been looking at. So now we're going to get into the bullet trajectory. The bullet has been reported found under the skin. Chances it would enter the neck directly from the front, go through a vertebrae, and stop right behind it are low. And it would not damage the rest of the vertebrae, as the previously communicated findings suggest. Good point. The bullet was actually traveling downwards along the spine. The front wound is explained further below. So now I'm definitely gonna have to zoom this out. Okay, so this is kind of the structure. So again, this shot would come from behind the tent, right? So in this case, and we'll talk about this here in a second, he actually brings it up, is he shooting through the tent itself? Because you can see through that tent, it's semi-transparent. Or was it just the right angle? And I think it's the right angle from behind. This isn't up behind, like the building shot that they were talking about before. This is directly behind him. So in this case, it comes, hits the occipital lobe, bounces down, breaks a couple vertebrae on the way, and then it's lodged there under the skin. Now this makes sense. It's hitting the back, coming here, but everyone's going to ask again, well, what about that wound in the front? Well, that's where this gets really interesting, and actually why it made me want to do this video. Right before the impact, without any disturbances, you can see, let me zoom in again here.
This is the graphic part, guys.
You can see that everything looks normal. His neck is not swollen, his shirt's not flying up. The bullet likely came through the backdrop. These backdrops are usually perforated or semi-transparent, especially when you look from the darker side to the brighter side, the curtain effect. Even from the sunny side, you can make out people walking behind the backdrop when Charlie speaks. And then we have a short here to look at. Now this is the short that he's talking about. He's saying you can see through it. So let's check it out and see if it's true. Yep, you can see a person right there. And I believe one walks across. We'll see here in a minute. Yep, right there. Someone's walking across. Another one right there. So that's true. So far the story, it sticks. So they can see right through that thing. So if someone were shooting from behind, they'd have a clear shot. All right, so from the tunnel, it would be easy to make out Charlie either completely, clearly, or at least very least an outline against the sunlit audience without any need of some fancy live camera feed. So he's saying from the back, they would basically see a silhouette of Charlie. The bullet entering the back of his head, lifting the scalp and dragging the skin up. So in a lot of the videos you see on the back, you see his hair go up and you see his skin go up. And people are saying that's because he was shot supposedly from the upper right behind, which makes no sense if this is all going up, right? So that wasn't explained. That doesn't cover that one. That also doesn't explain if there was an explosion from.
Okay, so Tyler was supposedly in front of him, not shooting him from the back, supposedly in front of him when he shot. So he would be at that angle, and then it supposedly went into the neck there. Now, he's saying in the other report he was supposedly shot from up top into the back of the head, which science is saying no, that is not possible. All right, let's continue.
The mic in the front, that it went up. It also doesn't explain if he was shot from the front, that the back of his hair and everything went up. So none of that fits, except this does make sense if he's shot directly in the back of the head. The bullet entered the back of the head, as apparent from his hairline, drags the skin up and away. The bullet is now traveling under his scalp. Now remember, the coroner, or from the autopsy, found the bullet under his skin. So the scalp is firmly attached to the skull. Therefore, decapitation in that area can be smaller and more rapid than in the neck. Mid-air bullets don't usually create any air turbulence, but the impact and rapid change of direction made that happen. Also, the bullet might have started to tumble when going through the backdrop, which added to the effect, and that's true. So say if it was a AR-15, because I know this wasn't a 30-06, no matter what angle it was shot from, it would have probably exploded his head, not to be too graphic. But you can see here very clearly, compared to that earlier picture, so his back of his head is basically a straight line, right? No cavitation. You come down here, you can see clearly, I mean, all of his hair and his skin and everything is sticking out there. There's a lot of pressure, and also a lot of pressure here. So it seems as though something came in from this direction and hit very hard. Now remember, if it came from this direction and also hit the vertebrae, that would explain the seizing and things that he did as well, because it would have immediately incapacitated his spine. The puff of air gets trapped under his shirt, traveling away from its source down, and also spreads around the shoulders to the front, which makes sense because the air would get trapped inside of his shirt and it would have nowhere to escape, so it would move around. The cavitation occurs in his neck, and the neck expansion whips the necklace up violently. It breaks and flies backwards. So you can see that here. A lot of people said it was his earpiece. Now, I can't, from this picture, I can't definitively say if this is an earpiece or a necklace. I do know that these earpieces were supposedly clear, so I'm not sure how well you would see it, or if you would see it this well like you do here. But this person is saying that the expansion whips the necklace up violently and it breaks and flies backwards. Now there's a source on that.
Generating tremendous kinetic energy, and yet he doesn't seem to be moving backward. What I'm saying is something with barely enough kinetic energy to penetrate his neck hit him, and just like when you throw a baseball at a bed sheet, it creates a little. Unfortunately, this app doesn't give me precise control of frame by frame.
Now, I just want to go back one frame. Let me see if I can go back one frame here. Now, see all of this here, whatever that is, like they're saying most likely his necklace. You'll see the frames before, there's no earpiece. I mean, look, the earpiece is clear, granted, right, supposedly. But if you look here, I mean, I can't, can I zoom in on this? Let me see if I can zoom in on this. Yeah, I can't really zoom. It looks like, from where I'm sitting, there's nothing on his ear, there's nothing in his ear, there's nothing coming down from the side of his head. There is no earpiece. Okay, so now he's talking about that bullet again, coming from the back and hitting him in the back of the head, right? In the occipital lobe, which explains this sonic shock wave, or whatever the technical term is for that. You can see all the skin and everything cavitating, moving, and expanding, and then you see pressure in his shirt. Now, if he got shot from the front, it went through his neck. That doesn't explain any of this. If he got shot from the upper right behind his ear and it came out through the other side, like the shooter up on the building, that doesn't explain this. if it was the explosion in the front from the pager or from the mic 2, the DJI mic 2, that doesn't explain this either. So none of those other options explain this.
Brain, well, again, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm just saying I feel like his brain is back here. And if something hits him right back here, it's more likely to damage his brain than this thing bouncing off of his chest and exploding and doing all these crazy things you're talking about. So I think this is a pressure event at the back of the shirt. And his hair flips up, and then in the next frame of this, the hair has relaxed as if there's been some really
and there you can see the chain
action right there at the back of his head. The thing is now through his neck, disrupting the shirt, and he's over. He's dead by here. His arms are up. His brain has been damaged.
So as you can see there's clearly not an earpiece. I mean, if there is, it's the clearest earpiece I've ever seen, and you can't see anything on his actual ear. But when this shot happens, you can see something clearly go up, which everyone's saying here is the chain. All right, so up to this point, they're saying he got shot from behind in the back of the head, through the tent, because you can see through it, as we've proven, and then he got hit in the back of the head and the chain went up, not an earpiece, and the way the back of his head cavitated and the shirt cavitated, none of the other methods explain that, except being hit directly in the back of the head. That also explains him seizing instantly. Now let's keep going. This is the part where it gets really interesting to me. This is what made me want to do this video, because I was like, so if this is all true, how do you explain the wound in the front? Charlie was wearing a cross pendant on his neck. You can see the outline under his shirt in the following photo. So you can see very clearly where this blue arrow is. There's a pendant there, and you can see his necklace leading down on both sides, coming to this pendant. So this is what's supposedly going to be the object that causes the issue. The cross pendant he had on the neck gets yanked up by the necklace due to the neck cavitation towards the front of Charlie's neck, dragging the shirt with it, causing the large wound under the shirt. When he's saying under the shirt, he's talking about when the shirt goes up. So when the shirt goes up, the pendant goes up, and he's saying, well, we'll get to it. The necklace probably yanks the pendant out again as the necklace flies backwards, worsening the wound. So what he's saying in this instance is that the shirt comes up, the pendant comes with it. The pendant is what sticks him in the neck, and that's why you see such a strange looking exit wound, or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people were trying to explain this based on the, earlier when some people were saying he had body armor and it bounced off, maybe that deformed the bullet or something, because it's such a strange wound. But this kind of would explain that. If that pendant goes up into his neck, and also in this case possibly getting yanked out, that would explain why he had some blood initially kind of spray and then just kind of drip down. Also the fact that he got hit directly in the vertebrae, severed his spine, it would have stopped his heart, so there wouldn't be blood constantly pumping out. And again, I apologize if it's kind of graphic. I'm not going to show any of that stuff. So you can see here, this would be when the wound is created. See if I can zoom in a little bit here. So this would be when the wound's being created under the shirt, right? And then when the shirt comes back down, then it exposes the wound. There's an apparent after effect of Charlie just getting slapped in his left cheek with the necklace. His tissue on his left cheek is still yet to fully expand back. So you can see here, you see that? See how it's kind of caved in right there? So he's saying that the chain hit him in the face. And at the same time, this would be when the pendant, which I would assume is a cross in this case, would go in and out of his neck, basically. After the shirt collar drops down, it reveals the wound, which you can see right there. He gets shot in the back of the head, cavitation. Very rapidly, the neck expands, and possibly maybe he hit the chain directly, and that force not only basically kills him instantly, but it also creates a situation where his necklace and pendant has so much inertia that it goes into his neck, and then when it comes back out, that's when we see the bleeding and everything else that was in the video. Now, this is another very interesting part, because everyone's talking about these people that were just kind of hanging out, including his bodyguards, right? Saying they were doing hand signs and they were grabbing things and moving things and doing some suspicious activity. And one guy was wearing sunglasses and looked like he actually took a picture, for example. But this is a whole different point of view coming up here. And again, I did this video because all of this stuff is so intriguing to me. Now here's where we get into a conspiracy theory area. So seconds before the shot, the car trunk behind Charlie got open. There seems to be a dark, bulky, round head of a person standing at the trunk as it is opening, which is right there. And there's a vehicle back there, a couple of vehicles back there. Once open, the head disappears. It's not visible anymore. It doesn't seem the person left to the sides of the car. So the person gets out of the car and just kind of hangs out there. And you can see you have the different security guys standing up there with him. And he's right here, so you can see his shoulder right in that spot. And then you see the person kind of disappears, but they don't walk off, right? So they're just hanging out somewhere in the dark back there. All right, so right after the shot, the trunk of the car in the tunnel behind Charlie. So remember, the car is back there. Someone, their head popped up. They don't leave, but they're still in that general area. The trunk of the car in the tunnel behind Charlie, they got open just seconds before the shot, is now shut again. So the car, someone gets out of the car, they kind of crouch or they're just hanging out there, and we'll see another angle here in a second. And then seconds after the shot's done, then the trunk closes. So the trunk is opened up here, right? So seconds before the shot, the trunk opens. Someone seems to get out. Trunk is open. And then here, now the trunk is closed. And that's just seconds after the shot. Some people are fleeing towards the car. There's two people calmly standing at the car, each one at one side of the trunk. When seeing that he's being filmed, the guy instinctively raises his hands to his face and forehead, as you can see here. And glimpses of the other person in the car corner, or the corner of the car, who seemed to direct people away from the trunk to the side of the car with his hand. So this person here is trying to get people away from the trunk. I don't know if someone's in there or what's going on, but if the shooter was in there, then that would explain why he's doing that. He's trying to take attention away from that area. You see a few of those. All right, and then you can see, we're going to see a very interesting thing here in a second, but you're seeing reflections of other people running around and a few people standing here, right, kind of blocking the car, guarding the car. Now in that video of people running for cover, they run past the car and hide behind it for a while. For 4 frames, it looks like there's something like the barrel of a gun pointing up and being put down within those 4 frames inside the car trunk. Now the barrel definitely doesn't look like the person on the other side of the car. It looks like some object moving within the car. At one point, it also looks like the head of a person next to the barrel, who's presumably holding the gun, standing upright on the floor of the car and gradually putting it down. That round, bulky object is similar to the head of the person that was standing near the trunk before the shot. And then there was something round and bulky, which could potentially be a person with a blanket over it. Now, if you look, this is what they're talking about. This looks like a some sort of suppressed firearm through the window here, right? And if I keep going down, here's a little bit better shot. So you see kind of a figure in here, and then you see what looks like, to me, looks like some sort of short AR-15 or something similar. It looks like it could be suppressed. Looks like it has handles and other things on it, maybe light, but some form of rifle possibly here, and then a person. And that's what they're saying here. And you can see it again there. This is the 4th frame, and you can clearly see a person sitting there inside that vehicle. Another shot. And then this is the person. You can see the seat, and then you can see hair. And you can see the person, kind of their head area right here. So you have people outside the car trying to prevent people from looking inside the car and being near the car. And you have someone clearly in the car that looks like they have a firearm sitting with them in there.
Okay.
And this was just seconds after the shot. The end of the object is not totally different than the barrel of a PCP gun with a silencer adapter at the end. And the
Okay. So I'm going to back it up just a little bit.
Make sure they can see it.
AK.
Might want to go into the app to make sure they can see it more.
They can see it. AK-45 compared to that.
They look almost exactly the same.
The seat and then you can see hair. And you can see the person, it's kind of their head area right here. So you have people outside the car trying to prevent people from looking inside the car and being near the car. And you have someone clearly in the car that looks like they have a firearm sitting with them in there. And this was just seconds after the shot. The end of the object is not totally different than the barrel of a PCP gun with a silencer adapter at the end. And the overall shape of a gun, possibly wrapped around with something, is apparently there. So they're saying some kind of device like this. At the end, maybe some kind of compensation. It doesn't look like a full suppressor, obviously, at least from this case. And then finally, there's Mr. Goodman, who might have found the projectile captured on video. Yes, it is technically possible, and everyone who knows videography knows that. It has to do with its shutter speed, which is independent of frame rate. What a coincidence to capture 3 similar shiny bugs or objects other than the projectile in a straight line right before the impact in line with Charlie's head in equal distance from each other, which if the bullet was coming at a steady rate, which it basically would at that range, then you're looking at the shutter cutting it in 3 equal slices. My whole explanation doesn't really need this point, but it's good to be aware of. So now what he's saying is, due to the frame rates of video and camera, that a bullet could theoretically be seen, and he's saying it got cut in 3 equal slices based on the frame rate and the bullet coming through. So we're going to take a look at that. All right, so now here we can see we have these 3 images, and these little white specks are supposed to be the bullet. Now this middle one looks larger than the other 2, but the first one and the third one definitely look like they could be a bullet. And they're coming from behind the stage and coming towards the back of his head. Now, if this is the case, then all of this so far that we've talked about would make sense. And like he said, the frame rate of the camera would chop it up as it comes in. So if this had been further away, then we may see 6 or 7 of these that were split apart in that same straight line, right towards the back of his head, occipital lobe. And then as I'm going through all this and reviewing it, he actually sends me another email. And he says I might have just found the shooter's arm and elbow. It seems during the shot itself, he might have actually been next to the car. Let me zoom in here. Next to the car, lowered kneeling, elbow to the side when aiming a gun. See these images. So the same guy with the ponytail who was later calmly standing at the rear corner of the car after the shooting. That's number 1. So he's standing right here. And then we have number 2, a bulky dark head of a person. That's the one who got out and shot. So now to me, this actually almost looks like a person wearing a mask, to be honest. It's really hard to tell, but definitely a person, definitely dark, standing next to another person. And then number 3, an elbow of a lowered kneeling person sticking to the side as when aiming. So it looks like this person might have, maybe that's the elbow or the arm right there, holding the gun aiming towards Charlie Kirk, who is sitting right here. This is all seconds before the shot. Trunk starts opening. Guy 1 starts adjusting his ponytail, taking up more space and providing more visual cover right here. The other person is now kneeling down right here. Head 2 is not visible anymore. Elbow 3 still hanging in place there. You see it right there. Okay. Charlie Kirk sitting right here. Clear line of sight. Neither one of his guards is looking behind. They're putting all their effort forward, even though they didn't have snipers on the roof, and they kind of missed that whole thing. There's a pretty good chance the shot didn't come from the roof, according to what this is saying. Elbow 3 moving around slightly right here. The other one is, for some reason, putting both arms up. The bodyguard behind Charlie steps aside, which might have enabled clear visual the shooter has been waiting for. So this person right here, if you look here, they're kind of blocking the shot here. Then you come down here and they move this way a little bit to their right. The shot follows quickly after. The shooter might not have been able to move around freely and needed to stay right at the sweet spot where he knew he would be least visible, most covered by person 1. Possibly person 2, the car, tent, and other people facing away from him. This is a close-up of the ponytail guy right here. And this is the vehicle that opened up and took the shot. Okay, let's do a quick recap. So vehicle opens trunk. From behind Charlie Kirk, behind the tent, where none of his security is looking, right? They're all looking forward. And then the person gets in position when his guard kind of moves to the side, takes the shot. hits him in the occipital lobe, which causes the bullet to go downwards and hit the other vertebrae and sit under the skin. That also causes a pressure wave in his neck and possibly actually hit the back of the necklace. The necklace, which is going down his neck with a pendant sitting on the right side. I think I'm flipped here in my camera, so I apologize for that. The important piece is that when he gets hit and that there's that expansion, his shirt blows up, shirt blows off in the back from all the pressure. The necklace explodes off the side, and then you see the shirt come up, and then at the same time that pendant, which looks like a cross, comes up and hits him in the neck, and that's what causes that major wound there. And then the shirt and the pendant both come back down, and then that's where he has that exit wound, or that entrance wound, whatever people are calling it. And that would explain why it looks so gnarly and doesn't look like a bullet hole of any type in or out. And then obviously he dies instantly. It hits him in the vertebrae. He seizes up, he goes to the side, he's bleeding out of his neck, and there's not blood pumping out as if he got shot in his carotid, because when he got hit in the back of the neck, his heart stopped, and that made it so he wasn't actually pumping out blood. That would explain why it's just kind of dripping out and not spraying out. So seconds after that, then you have the back of the vehicle closes, and you can see for multiple frames, 4 frames, that there's a person, or looks like a person in the vehicle. Clearly you can see their head, and you see what looks like a gun sitting in their lap for 4 frames. And then you see people trying to distract and get people away from the back of the vehicle, including the guy in the ponytail. And then obviously Charlie Kirk was there at that point. So this is a very interesting version of what this person thinks happened. Definitely put your comments down below. I mean, this is probably the closest to what makes the most sense to me of everything I've seen so far. The shot from behind that, you know, went from the back of his head out through his neck from the building didn't make sense to me for everything else that happened. The explosion in the front didn't make sense to me, especially with the hair and the skin going up in the back of his head. It made 0 sense whatsoever. And then you have the shot from the front, which obviously wouldn't hit those vertebrae if it went through the neck here, and it wouldn't have stuck in the skin, especially from that distance if it was a 30-06 or something similar. So this seems like maybe it was a weaker round. Could even have been a 5.56, but in this case, I think this story makes a lot of sense. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.
Okay, so one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the URL. I'm going to put it right in the description. So guys and girls, it is 9 o'clock. It is about time for Monko to have current events. Oh yeah. Oh. And my sister's calling me. So thank you guys.
Answer that first so you don't miss her call.
Hey beautiful, hold on 1 second while I end this live, okay? Hold on. So I'm going to throw that in the description, and you guys can go take a look at it yourself. And yes, please let me know in the comments what you think. Oh, always remember, no matter what life throws at you, no matter what crazy curveball is thrown your way, or child, sheesh,